Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Palmer McIntyre. I'm the director of the Great Trail State Coalition. Really excited to have you all here today for our Cities, Towns, and Counties webinar. And this is our webinar series. We're recording these and creating a digital library so everyone can get to this information. And we're pulling content from our 2024 Great Trail State Conference that was in Winston-Salem last year. And today we're super excited to have Amanda Baker with Visit NC and Bobby Chappell with Tourism Impact Services with us today to talk about trails, towns, and stewardship. So I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves and get started with their presentation. Thank y'all for being here today.
Yes, and thank you, Palmer and the Great Trail State Coalition for having us, for the invitation from the conference, which again, I'm sure it was said many times, it was a fantastic event and look forward to the next one. Really happy to participate in this webinar series and make this content more readily available. So to everyone that's joining the call, thank you for joining. Today, we're going to talk about trails, towns, and stewardship, how Outdoor NC is promoting responsible trail tourism. My name is Bobby Chappell. I'm the president and founder of Tourism Impact Services. We're a strategic planning and implementation firm that helps outdoor destination partners plan for resilience, scale destination stewardship, and enhance their visitor experiences. Also have Amanda Baker from Visit North Carolina, and I've been fortunate to work with them over the last few years to develop programming around Outdoor NC, which is what we're going to talk about today. Some of our flagship programs that were built from a lot of, kind of engagement and research that we did around the state. So this is something that was really specifically built for the unique stakeholders in the tourism and outdoor recreation industries of North Carolina. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So tourism and outdoor recreation are big business in North Carolina. In 2024, it was about approximately 40 million visitors that visited North Carolina that generated about $37 billion in economic activity. From our research, we, were able to really establish that the people visiting North Carolina do care about their environmental footprint, and that they were looking for sustainable and authentic experiences like outdoor recreation and agritourism and cultural heritage. And certainly a part of that is our trails, and they just continue to become more popular as a tourism product in North Carolina. And I think a lot of this is because trails do so much more than just a path through the forest. Trails actually connect us to nature and to community, to culture, and to history. We certainly have many human-powered trails that were celebrated in the Year of the Trail that include every type of walking, hiking, biking, horseback riding, and water trail that's found on the nearly 4 million acres of public land across the state. And we also have heritage trails that are managed by the Department of Cultural and Natural Resources, trails like our Moonshine and Motorsports Trail, the African American Music Trail, the Appalachian Mural Trail. All of these different types of trails introduce residents and visitors to the history and the cultural significance of topics that are really important to North Carolina's heritage. And then all of the trails in between, things like the Oyster Trail, the Fly Fishing Trail, there's a Dark Skies Trail, there's plenty of ale and spirit trails, there's walking history trails, and many more across the state that residents and visitors get to enjoy in many different ways. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. What brings us here really is that tourism is at a pivotal moment. Around the country and certainly industry wide, we're seeing a shift from a real focus on volume to one that's also putting more priority into the well-being of communities and of landscapes. And so that really is what Outdoor NC is about. So we're going to discuss a framework that demonstrates why that shift isn't just necessary, but also achievable, and how our DMOs, our destination marketing and management organizations, and our TDAs, our tourism development authorities, I'm going to use those terms interchangeably today, but those organizations that are speaking to visitors, how they are working to reshape the future of tourism. So we'll start off talking about the value of trails and outdoor recreation, and then some of the obstacles that are shared in many of the towns around North Carolina. Then we're going to introduce an idea around destination stewardship and how that is working to create a path towards more responsible tourism on trail-related type tourism. Then I'll hand things over to Amanda to talk about outdoor NC and really, how this program is working directly with the TDAs and the DMOs around the state to enhance our communications to our visitors and also to residents as well. So as everybody here knows that's on this call, that's why you're on this call and why it's you do the work that you do. Trails just really are a high impact, valuable product that we're fortunate enough to have in great numbers in North Carolina. And the reason why there's so much interest and investment in it is because we do recognize that it promotes physical activity, that it reduces stress and anxiety. Trails and outdoor recreation can certainly foster an appreciation in nature and encourage the protection of natural spaces. And it also provides opportunities for people to really kind of come together and strengthen those community relationships. And of course, trails are a catalyst for economic development and community growth. They can attract tourism and visitor spending. They attract businesses. They can attract a high skilled workforce, and they attract retirees that are coming and looking for outdoor communities and quality of life. And all of this economic activity then in turn can support essential services like healthcare, primary education, and other community programs. But even with all these great benefits, there's certainly going to be challenges that we want to be aware of along the way. So to start, what do we know about the accessibility of our trails and the challenges for accessing the outdoors for the largest minority in the world? And that's people with disabilities. So 1 in 7 people worldwide, an approximate 1 in 4 adults in the United States, and 1 in 3 adults in North Carolina have some form of significant disability. And so for all of the great benefits of trails and outdoor recreation, this group many times is left sidelined simply because the physical world in and of itself can be a barrier. There's also things that we can certainly work to improve, things like our trailhead facilities, trying to make sure that they're better connected, and to the extent possible, trying to create and reduce obstacles for access to trails as well. But one that we really focus on is this idea of an information gap. So, for example, the idea is that it's not the number of trails that can be accessible for people with disabilities that is limited. It's the amount of information to make informed decisions that is the limiting factor. And so that's really something that we're trying to work on through Outdoor NC. Another thing is that accessibility can mean very different things for different groups. So if you are a person with a vision impairment, if you are with a family that has a child with a developmental disability, or someone with a walker or a wheelchair, or even a stroller, everyone has very different needs than, say, an adaptive mountain bike rider might have for their adventures on trails. It also goes beyond just providing good quality information. It also comes down to creating a sense of belonging to make people feel very welcome in outdoor spaces as well. And that really can happen by being intentional with your words, with your language, with your communications, and just really paying attention to that as you promote your trails. Another important challenge that we're all facing is resource conservation. In many ways, the pandemic shined a light on these types of outdoor recreation impacts that were happening, where they went from just kind of being a nuisance to being something of grave concern and a real call to action to do something about it, because that increase in volume created that multiplier effect. These things were happening before the pandemic, but that multiplication of it really stood out. Things like litter and social trails and wildlife interactions are just a few of those items that really increased in impact during the pandemic and beyond. And there are some root causes to this. A lot of visitors just might be uninformed. It might have been their first time really kind of getting out on trails and doing that type of recreation. Many visitors are unskilled, and some, unfortunately, are just careless, and that's difficult to try to change those types of behaviors. But when it comes to responsible trail tourism, it really means that the leave no trace principles are one of the primary tools, and it's what we built Outdoor NC on. That's really where the idea of Outdoor NC came from, was from establishing some very local leave no trace principles that were very relevant across the state that Amanda will talk about in a minute. And beyond that visitor use and preventable impacts that we've seen, we have issues around weather and erosion. They also create their own, kind of issues that need to be handled on an ongoing basis. And we know trails are not self-maintaining, and that's one of the biggest barriers for trail managers too, is like, how are we going to continue to maintain these trails, for the next 2 years, 3 years, 10 years? And so we need volunteers and financial support to make sure that we have invested in this, in this trail. We want to make sure that we are also investing in the sustainability of that infrastructure as well. And the idea of what's called the stewardship gap is something that was made pretty clear from a survey that was done by OnX, the mapping company, last year or the year before, I believe. And through their survey, they found out that about 92% of the respondents said that they depended on public lands for outdoor recreation, and only 19% donated time, money, or advocacy on an annual basis. And so this is known as the intention action gap. And it's something that we can try to improve through our communications by just making stewardship opportunities more visible, really kind of creating experiences around them and making them something that are built into the communications as activities that visitors and residents can participate in their destination and along different trails. Okay, so now let's switch gears to towns, which is a big part of the work that we do. So everybody knows that trail towns are celebrated as these model outdoor communities. They're small towns with great trail access. They bring in visitors that are searching for nature and that culture and connection. But that popularity can also create a paradox. And the success of these places can then in turn threaten what makes them special. But let's start with, thinking about what is a trail town. I think we all know, but just to be clear, at its core, it really is a community that has direct access to a network of trails, or is, a town that's along a trail like the Appalachian Trail or the Ice Age Trail or many others across the country and around the world. And trail towns really are built on having a welcoming spirit and that infrastructure to support visitors that come to their town. So either restrooms or wayfinding, or it's just a local restaurant that knows what a backpack or muddy boots really means. And when you're in a trail town, you just know it's got a certain vibe to it. So towns like Moab or Bentonville or Damascus or some that a lot of people are familiar with. But to be sure, any town can be a trail town. You can build that outdoor and trail culture. But I also want to acknowledge that there are some trail town designation programs that specifically recognize communities that have that strong tie with their trails. And every type of program has a different mission, a different approach. A few of them around the country, the Appalachian Trail Community Program. This one's really good about creating signage to direct through hikers from the trail into towns, and also providing tools and resources that are focused on conservation and stewardship of the trail. The Tennessee River Line, they have a River Towns program, and they actually bring in landscape architects that create these renderings and designs to work and connect the downtowns to the river to enhance outdoor recreation and focus on economic development. And then our program, the Outdoor NC Trail Town Stewardship Program, ours is really built on stakeholder engagement, conducting asset inventories, trails and accessible outdoor opportunities, and creating responsible recreation communications. And universally, trail towns are gateways to adventure. They really are about celebrating that place and their connection to those outdoors that are directly adjacent to them. And when done well, they can fuel local investments. They can activate downtowns through festivals and events. They can support year-round visitation that can bring real tangible value at every step of the visitor journey. And at every one of those steps, you're creating a multiplier from direct spending, indirect spending, and induced economic impact. So there's a lot of ways to generate economic impact from trail town tourism. But like I said, as these trail towns become more popular and they become more successful, they also start to face some more complex challenges. Trails, public lands, they are a common asset for a lot of different stakeholders, and certainly a boon for outdoor recreation communities that are attracting residents, businesses, and visitors. And the idea here is that even with this, like popularity, there is a cautionary tale, and it is that outdoor recreation tourism can create a lot of great economic opportunity, but it can also become very visitor dependent, and it can become very seasonal. And when you have those types of impacts, that can create parking and traffic congestions at certain times of the year. It can strain public resources, and it can start to erode community character. And these are things that we're seeing around the world that is then affecting resident quality of life, which can then lead to an anti-tourism sentiment, which kind of happens way down the line, but it can certainly happen if not managed well. And ultimately, is what ends up happening from that is that the visitor experience starts to decline. So there's a lot of snowball effect that can happen, and it's always just smart to think about this from the onset to plan for long-term success. Another thing as well, as we saw last year, devastation from, kind of natural disasters can have just a tremendous impact, on our public lands, on our outdoor recreation, and on the entire economy. So, like I said at the beginning, tourism is at this pivotal moment, and trail towns are at a crossroads where they're starting to, hopefully reimagine the purpose of tourism, where they're thinking about their downtowns and their surrounding public lands. And this is happening through the transformational ethos of destination. stewardship. So I'll take a couple of minutes to introduce that. In its simplest terms, the things that the way that we like to position this with Outdoor NC is that a community is an ecosystem, and stewardship and responsibility and sustainability all work to create balance. And that's really what this program is trying to accomplish. But what do those terms mean? So I'm going to quickly generalize those three different terms because they are very much intersecting and they should be working in unison. So sustainable tourism, this is about the industry, the tourism industry as a whole. And it really does focus on businesses and their operations in trying to balance environmental, social, and economic outcomes. Responsible travel. This is about the visitors and the activities that they participate in while they're in your destination. So we're trying to balance the enjoyment of and the respect for community assets. And destination stewardship. This is the concept that brings it all together because it involves all of your local destination stakeholders working to balance resident quality of life and the visitor experience, which sometimes can have very different priorities. So trying to understand where and how you can balance that is really important. And destination stewardship, like I said, is working with your tourism organizations, your elected officials, your land managers, the private sector, the civic sector. And it's creating an enabling environment where businesses can be more sustainable, where visitors can act more responsibly, and where all of your community leaders and stakeholders can try to work in unison towards common goals. And so the way that we do this, this is very common knowledge. Every, kind of presentation that we sit in on, I'm sure mentions this, but it's always worth repeating. You set a big table and you invite everyone to join. And then once that table is set, what we try to do is start to leverage connections. And every one of the stakeholder groups that are on, this slide right here, we certainly recognize that they have stakeholders themselves that they're responsible for or that they're reporting to. They all have their own projects, they have their own priorities, they have their own programs that they're running. Everyone is stretched and busy. So is what we're trying to do is connect and find ways that we can share some of this responsibility, find ways where, different stakeholder groups can lead, partner, and advocate. Who has access to funding, who can focus on policy, things like that. And again, it's not to create, more work for everyone. It really is about trying to identify overlaps so everyone can focus on the things that make the most sense for them. And then a quote that I always like to mention from Henry Ford is that coming together is the beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. And again, for us through this program, it is all about communication and trying to find ways to use the tools that we have at our disposal to make stewardship work. And so effective stewardship communication can work to align stakeholders around a shared message of responsible recreation and responsible travel. It can equip businesses and your frontline staff with the tools to promote stewardship and really make that those principles a part of your destination's identity. It can shape visitor choices and behaviors, directing them in the kind of the best path to make responsible choices. And it can also build local pride and participation by helping residents feel very informed and involved and invested in the places that they love. And so if you take all of that, everything that I just shared, trails and outdoor recreation and public lands are a valuable common asset, but there are obstacles. That a community is an ecosystem, and we are trying to find ways to reimagine the purpose of tourism. That stewardship, responsibility, and sustainability are intersecting concepts that aim to create balance, and that shared management of shared resources starts with effective communications you essentially get the vision of Outdoor NC and our stewardship programming. And that is that by providing tourism stakeholders with the training, resources, and a sense of urgency to embrace destination stewardship, Outdoor NC can help our tourism organizations become champions of responsible and sustainable tourism, looking to enhance visitor experience, protect natural resources, and improve resident quality of life. And so with that, I'm going to hand things over to Amanda to talk about Outdoor NC.
Thank you, Bobby. And I'm going to drop a few links into the chat now so that you can open them up in your tabs and have them. I feel like oftentimes I put it right at the end and everybody's leaving. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat for you as I continue to talk about Outdoor NC. As Bobby and Palmer mentioned, I am Amanda Baker. I am the partner manager with partner marketing manager with Visit North Carolina and manage and oversee the Outdoor NC program. As part of Visit North Carolina, we strongly believe that the state of North Carolina and our tourism partners are in a position to leverage North Carolina's unique outdoor recreation, agricultural, and heritage assets to outcompete our regional and national neighbors, looking to preserve our natural resources and really build vibrant communities. Outdoor NC really began in 2021 when Visit North Carolina, along with the North Carolina Office of Outdoor Recreation and Leave No Trace, partnered to create Outdoor NC and to share stewardship principles with visitors and residents alike. Outdoor NC is part of the family of brands within Visit North Carolina and is managed by our partner and industry relations team in collaboration with Leave No Trace, Tourism Impact Services, and the Upward Concept. And the Upward Concepts is our creative agency for Outdoor NC. We're also building on the success of this Outdoor NC initiative and recognize an opportunity for our organization and the industry as a whole to really ramp up stewardship and sustainable activities by investing in new and innovative programming to support our industry partners. When we look at our overall Visit North Carolina, and to back it up just a little bit to give you a broader explanation of who we are from the Visit North Carolina and Outdoor NC perspective and the goals that we have for the state. As I understand, some of you may not be as familiar with our organization, but we are a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, and our goal is to improve the economic well-being and quality of life for all North Carolinians. And we do this by collaborating with state, local, and private sector partners in new business recruitment, existing employer support, international trade, export assistance, small business startup counseling, and tourism promotion. Within the tourism department of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, we often refer to it as EDPNC. We have 5 departments that consist of 15 full-time staff and other brands as well within the tourism space, including sports, retire, outdoor, and film. But our mission really with Visit North Carolina is to help unify and lead the state in positioning North Carolina as the preferred destination for travelers and maximizing that economic vitality statewide. We have long been known as a place with natural scenic beauty and soft adventure activities. And at Visit North Carolina, that's what we've been promoting for years. But with that, we also understand that that comes with responsibility of taking care of those spaces. So we thought a statewide initiative would bring together a larger voice and issues and awareness with both residents and visitors. And this is something that we saw time and time again when we develop programming and we work with partners across the state. We are a research-based marketing organization. So employing efforts with Leave No Trace and Tourism Impact Services to really see how we could do that moving forward. And we found that it extends well beyond the outdoors. We are fostering connections with entire communities. This is public sector, civic sector, private sector. And to effectively do this, we wanted to find a way to seamlessly integrate our programs into our partner operations. And traditionally, our partners have been our destination marketing organizations and our destination, our TDAs and DMOs, as we've mentioned earlier. Those partners are our marketing experts when it comes to visiting and visitors across the state. And we understand that marketing is an effective stewardship tool as well. So we're working with our partners to extend our call to action aimed at fostering community and building momentum around these core concepts of destination stewardship within North Carolina. We understand that through communication, we can have an impact on change and in a positive way. And when done appropriately, we can change behaviors and can inspire responsibility, as well as reach a new or an engaged audience. When we think about the different pillars that we have for Outdoor and Sea, it really falls under three different pillars. We have partnership, stewardship, and experiences. Within each pillar, we've defined priorities and measurable activities to ensure that Outdoor and Sea is best servicing the state's tourism industry and those visitors. This includes engaging with statewide partners to understand industry needs and provide tools and resources to build capacity and leverage opportunities, as well as supporting industry partners with continuing education and experiential learning, performance recognition and promotion, as well as marketing and messaging support. We want to inspire our tourism partners to be stewards of their communities and their surrounding natural environments, as well as the tourism industry. We encourage destination stewardship through establishing stewardship priorities based on international best practices in North Carolina communities, and also assessing North Carolina community needs and industry opportunities. We provide programs and resources to help industry partners enhance local quality of life and visitor experience, and recognizing and celebrating partners that implement best practices and lead by example within the industry. We're looking to promote that responsible visitation and that regenerative experience, as well as the accessible outdoor recreation, and promoting rewarding experiencing. Again, providing those tools to help our industry partners identify those key assets and curate multi-day and accessible trail itineraries, as well as providing tools to help industry partners promote that responsible visitation and develop those regenerative experiences. And then ultimately creating and distributing a specialized visitor guide focused on our Trail Town program. But as Bobby described, communication is a bridge. And this is an overwhelming amount of communication that can take place, but communication is key. So now taking a step further back, this is how we engage with visitors throughout the entire visitor experience cycle. We have the visitors dreaming, planning, booking experience, and we share, we're finding touch points at every step in which that we can communicate these different messages to them. So through Outdoor and Sea, Visit North Carolina has been building tools to share content with our tourism destination authorities, who can then connect directly with you all as local stakeholders, including businesses, community leaders, land managers, who are heavily focused on the planning through the resources, and then help with that with the official North Carolina Trail Town Guide. Lots of arrows, lots of connections, lots of stakeholders, lots of opportunity for communication. And Outdoor and Sea has 4 flagship programs that are focused on promoting responsible trail usage and trail town stewardship. We'll start with our Alliance Partner Program here. We have a great deal of partners participating. We have our largest cohort this year. Really what our goal with our Alliance Partner Program is to encourage responsible travel, help partners gain that foundational knowledge about responsible recreation and accessible outdoors, learning how destination stewardship benefits the community, preserves our natural and cultural heritage, and improves that overall visitor experience. What's good for the visitor is good for the locals. We're also providing those practical tools and templates, as well as content to help advance those projects, as well as effectively communicate with visitors, residents, and stakeholders. And then equipping us at Visit North Carolina through the lens of Outdoor and Sea to share those content stories and widely promoting the destinations, businesses, and experiences that really embody stewardship. When we look at our participating partners this year, there is a long list of partners. We have representation across the state, from the mountains to the Piedmont, as well as the coast, both big and small destinations. One thing that's important to note is that everybody cares about North Carolina. They love our state and they are invested in this and joining this movement. And they are working with their stakeholders across the state. So if you are not currently engaged with one of your tourism destination authorities, or are unaware of who you should be contacting when it comes to tourism within your destination, I would be happy to connect you with those partners and also inform you if they're already a part of the Outdoor NC program. But we do have several partners participating this year at various levels. And then we'll talk about our Outdoor NC Guide Summit program. This is really about fostering authentic connections with stewardship. This program is the first of its kind in partnership with Leave No Trace. It's about providing practical training on how to integrate relevant information about stewardship behaviors and best practices into guided experiences. We're leveraging the expertise of guides to add informed insight and authentic voices, useful tips to outdoor adventures and our brand communications, and really building community and fostering connections for these guides throughout the state, focused on creating bonding forms as well as shared values. And these connections with those guides on local brands and destinations in which they do business. This is also something where each of these guides, after taking this practical training, can go back and train their staff or their fellow colleagues on how to practice this and practice what you preach, but also how to educate visitors when in market, how to have more better experience in our outdoor spaces. Next program is the Accessible Outdoors. So this is promoting outdoors for all abilities. We're raising awareness for challenges and opportunities related to accessibility in the outdoors for DMOs to more effectively communicate to all visitors and residents, providing tools that help stakeholders identify assets and describe accessibility features of local trails and facilities, as well as promoting and recognizing those destination marketing organizations who are effectively using those resources and messaging to make the outdoors more accessible for all. It's all about being transparent in the information that we provide. And you can find more on one of the links that I provided on our partners.outdoornc.com. And then we'll talk about our Trail Town Stewardship. Here we're talking about really celebrating the stewardship in trail towns. This is kind of the pinnacle of the program. This incorporates the other aspects of the other programs within it. It's about raising awareness on practical destination stewardship concepts and principles, and providing tools that help those local stakeholders activate tangible and turnkey destination stewardship activities. It helps participants develop communications for local media channels and Visit North Carolina that we can still celebrate that stewardship. This is the storytelling of all the hard work of the stakeholders within the community and bringing those together, finding each other's strengths to better tell that story of what a trail town means in North Carolina. As Bobby alluded to earlier, we have trail towns throughout the state. This part is a designation program, part of that. And again, it's focused on stewardship because we know that our visitors, our residents love our outdoor spaces, and how can they continue to love them so that we can preserve them for future. When we look at our program outcomes, we have had 24 TDA or DMO partners who have participated in the Trail Town designation so far. Over 100 plus trail towns, 160 plus trails, 90 plus accessible assets that have been inventoried. We've had engagement with land managers, community stakeholders, numerous businesses. We've received a great number of promotional impressions as well as visits to our guide itself from a marketing perspective, and really celebrating all of that hard work that those community stakeholders have put into this, as well as communications. We have seen our partners grow with their efforts regarding responsible travel, accessible outdoors, partner destinations, and have helped highlight different things on Trail Town Tuesdays, highlighting all of the different trails featured within the guide, again, through that lens of destination stewardship. Participation, engagement, and communications. That's the key things that we're looking for there. And what we want to do now is not just encourage all of the stakeholders to experience North Carolina, but we invite them to embrace North Carolina by joining this movement. It's not just an experience. It really is about being part of a community, coming together, moving forward to join that movement of creating a space that people want to come back to year after year and take care of it as if it is their own. So just a quick recap here. We have a lot of great assets regarding the Outdoor NC program. We provided a few links there as well for you. And really, Bobby, I don't know if you want to speak more to kind of summation of all of this, but we're available and happy to talk if anybody has any questions moving forward. I'll also put in a couple other links in the chat as well regarding the broader economic development partnership and all the stakeholders that we engage in, as well as additional resources.
I'll just add and then hand it back over to Palmer that I hope everyone sees is what we've done since basically 2020 is try to understand what's happening in the tourism industry at at the destination level. What are some of the challenges that are happening that we can work from that state level to create tools and resources for DMOs and TDAs and any stakeholder that's related to outdoor recreation and beyond, to access and be able to join the movement in the work that we're doing, because we do recognize that everyone around the state truly cares about the outdoors and trails in North Carolina. And we are trying to create opportunities for everyone to participate. The more people that we can participate, the more kind of noise we can make around it, the more people that then hear about it, join the movement, and we can continue to advance this. The other thing too, we are trying to always be aware of changes that are happening, to be in front of new things that are coming up as well. So we're always happy to hear from our colleagues and other stakeholders on what you're seeing and the types of tools and resources that you need, so we can be aware of it. There is a lot happening around the state too, with the Great Trail State Coalition, with organizations like Uplift, with NC State's kind of extension office. There are a lot of things happening around the state, and we try to stay plugged into that. So creating those conversations and connections is a big part of what we try to do as well.
Well, thank you, Bobby and Amanda. This has been such an informative presentation, and the movement it's big. The trails movement in North Carolina is all about the stewardship. It's about promoting the Great Trail State brand, and in order to be a part of the Great Trail State, we need to take care of those resources. So thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for the work of your partners are doing across the state to ensure those resources are stewarded appropriately. I've got a quick question, and then we'd love to open the floor to anyone who has a question. Your numbers that you presented about 2024 tourism impact were really impressive. And I'm curious, since Helene really affected the fall tourism season for Western North Carolina, how do those numbers compare to 2023? Do you have any idea?
I think we're still going to be gauging that as we go into the next year. And as far as numbers go, I know that our research team is diving into those to see how that might have impacted it. It's different with the fact that we did have emergency workers that were staying in accommodations and things like that as well. So looking at how you determine who were volunteers, who were people who were potentially visitors versus just there to help with recovery efforts. So we're trying to dive a little bit more into that, and we'll have more hopefully in the coming weeks to share around that.
Thanks. Well, who's got some questions for Bobby and Amanda? You can take yourself off mute and just ask or put it into the chat.
Well, I'll go since no one else is speaking. Thank you all for this presentation. It's been incredible. I've actually been snapping pictures of your slides and sending them to a colleague of mine on the town council going, we gotta get involved here. Which brings me to my question. I wear a couple of hats. One, I'm a town council member for the town of Leland, but I'm also the current president of a nonprofit that is trying to start the Gullah Geechee Greenway Blueway Heritage Trail. And in both the town and in the Gullah Geechee, our biggest problem when you're trying to start a trail is, of course, money, because you've got to acquire properties. And then once you get the properties, you then have to figure out what to do with them responsibly. We actually think we're getting someplace on the Gullah Geechee side because just recently thrown in one of the bills that actually passed this year's legislature was a notice for the state to assist. And we have gone through our metropolitan planning organization to put together all the segments. However, our town is buying some property that we want to try to conserve, but we first have to purchase the property. Do you have any guidance for communities that are trying to, forget maintenance and all that, but just where do we get this money from besides taxpayers? Because that's the hard sell. Everybody wants to preserve land. Everybody is upset about development, but then you say, oh, by the way, it's going to cost us this many millions of dollars to purchase that property to save it. Folks get upset. So that was a lot. But I'm listening now.
Veronica, I can jump in on that wearing my land conservancy hat. But so there are some funds in North Carolina that are available to help with land acquisition. One in particular is the North Carolina Land and Water Fund. And that, again, a state level fund, it has recurring funding. So even though we don't have a state budget this year, they will have a budget to distribute. And those deadlines are typically in February. And it's for conservation purposes. So the conservation purpose can include public access, like some sort of public benefit, but it doesn't have to be an active recreation site to qualify for that particular fund. But it needs to be protecting water quality, important natural areas and such. So that's an option for you, North Carolina Land and Water Fund. If it's going to be an active recreation site, you can look at Part F, Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. You can look at the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is federal funding, not to be confused with the North Carolina Land and Water Fund. So those are three pots that could be available to you. And of course, it has a trail feature on it. We're hoping to get more funding for the Great Trail State program. So that's another potential source, but our funding was one-time funding, and the coalition will be working towards additional funding for that program, but we don't have it secured yet.
Thanks, Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And Veronica, I'm not sure if you are connected with Andre Neighbors in our office, but he helps work with local and regional trails that are trying to kick off from a cultural perspective. And I know that he is aware of the Gullah Geechee corridor and their work there. So there might be some additional connections that he would have for you from the cultural side.
If you could put his contact information in the chat or send it to me, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then David McRae has a comment that maybe Bobby or Amanda, y'all can tackle. For small, low capacity communities who don't have dedicated staff for marketing and promotion, where's the best place to start? Learning about best practices and knowing where to focus marketing and promotion efforts.
I can speak from the Visit North Carolina and an outdoor NC perspective. I think there's a lot of opportunities still from a marketing and promotional perspective, even when budgets are tight. Potentially even working with, again, those different stakeholders within your community and pulling together budgets in order to speak to that. And I understand sometimes having bandwidth for some of those smaller communities is difficult, but I think, again, it goes back to that stakeholder engagement, and the more people that you're working with, it kind of makes each of the little pieces of the pie a little more bite-sized for each individual to take that on, and also has more buy-in from the community and the different stakeholders to lift the same messaging up and share that elsewhere. From a marketing and promotional effort, I feel like, social media has a low-hanging fruit as far as organic content, and starting to share that messaging out with folks. And then learning about best practices, we do have some information available through our Outdoor and Sea Partner Toolkit, also available within our website and our partner page. We hold monthly webinars for our Visit North Carolina partners. Those are open to any stakeholders. We welcome those to participate, as it does focus a lot on marketing and promotional efforts that we're doing at the state level and ways in which to engage with us to help make those resources go forth further for you.
And I'll add to, oh, sorry, Bobby, go
No,
ahead.
no, no, please, Palmer, go ahead.
I just lost my train of thought. You go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. But I was going to just say that from our early research in program development, the thing that came through loud and clear was, you know, capacity and time and budget across the board are always the most limiting factors for small destinations. And even though we have partners like the Outer Banks or Asheville, you know, in this program, it really was designed for those smaller DMOs and TDAs, those real small operations, to create a toolkit of resources that you can use that's in line with a state message. And with, you know, Uproar, you know, creating just some really dynamic resources and templates that are ready made, that are just, you know, kind of very much turnkey. Those are kind of readily available through the program. And that really was at the heart of what we were hoping to accomplish.
And what I was going to say came back to me. I just wanted to lift up our partners at Uplift Tourism, because they're a resource for small communities across the state, and they have a lot of workshops online. They have resources online, and I'm putting their contact into the chat, their website. Well, any other questions or any experiences you've had, like a story to tell about stewardship in your area or challenges you're facing? Oh, I know people have challenges. Well, it is almost 1 o'clock, so we can give you back some of your time. But this has been very informative. Again, thank you. There's lots of resources out there for all of us working together. And I will say we are going to have another conference a year from now. So we'll all gather again in Winston-Salem for the second Great Trail State Conference in 2026. So looking forward to that. But thank you, Amanda and Bobby, for your time and your resources, and good luck, everyone, and let us know how we can help.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.